Hi, Stephanie. Thank you for coming.
Good morning. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah,
I'm
amazing.
excited.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, you are the first. Let me confirm. You are the first like MIT student
Oh,
to be hosted here. I've hosted so many guys from the
eh,
UK, Oxford, and whatever.
I see. I
Yes.
see.
So you will. I'm very excited for you to tell us
Thank
about
you. Thank
how
you.
you found yourself at MIT, because MIT undergrad. Again,
Yes.
I'm not sure
Yes.
if I know many people who went to the US from Kenya for undergrad. You are one
Mm,
of the few that I know. So I want to hear
ah.
that whole experience. How did you know? How did you know of these opportunities? Were you studying under scholarship? How was MIT?
Mm,
What did you study? Culture shocks and everything in between. So let's begin. Let's begin from, I don't know, where do we want to begin? Let's begin from MIT. How
oh
was
yeah.
MIT and what
Yeah.
did you study?
Hey. Yeah. Thanks. So I came to MIT to study mechanical engineering, and the way I found out about these opportunities, I think I went to boarding school in Kenya. I went to Precious Blood, which was, amazing school, but the struggles. I got there, and as I was nearing, like, let's say second year, third year, I was like, okay, I want to experience something different. I feel like it was a very small school, very close knit, everyone knew everyone, and I just wanted to have a completely different experience. And because I had been able to do an exchange program while there, to go to Germany, so there's like an exchange program. It was the first time I traveled. I'm pretty sure it's like one of the first times I traveled internationally. And I just saw that there's different worlds, there's different ways people see things. I was coming from such a rigid background, and then I saw that there's so many different ways people express themselves. People are growing up so differently. And I think that just kind of planted the seeds of, okay, I want to study abroad. And so I was looking at Germany, and I was also looking at the US because I don't know, I think the culture in the UK, I had a certain image of the culture in the UK. I thought it was a bit more reserved, a bit more polite, a bit more indirect. So I was drawn to America because I felt like people were a little bit more straightforward, a bit more blunt, a little bit more, it's formal, but a little bit more informal. And I feel like that matched with my personality better. So I started to look for opportunities, and also we had some people visit our school and talk about studying abroad. MIT wasn't there, but I knew that I wanted to do something in the field of engineering. I knew I was one of those kids who took things apart, just those classic stories of getting into trouble because you're curious about things and you take things apart, you can't put them back together, and that just felt like very, very much in line with engineering and my key. I started doing like some research in school. Technically, I wasn't supposed to be using the German room computers for doing this, but I started to research universities, and I saw MIT is really about that, that curious tinkering, energy, making things, so learning with your hands, doing things. So I knew it was just in my head. And I would remember something like my eldest brother would say a lot when I was a kid, this one's going to be an engineer, this one's going to be a mechanical engineer. So I think those seeds had been planted. Yeah.
Can we try without the earpiece?
Without the
It's like
headphones? Oh, yes.
it's a little echo. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
let's do without the earpiece. Yeah, because the
No.
sound is nice. Uh-huh. Continue. Yeah, yeah. So it needs to change.
Okay. Try again.
Yeah,
Can you hear
that
me?
is way better. Yes, there was a little echo.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that section of the clip okay?
No, that is fine. That is okay. So yes, continue with the. I'm taking notes and taking questions. So continue.
Oh, great. So so I think from a young age, my like that kind of seed had been planted. That seed of like studying engineering and going out and doing things and like experiencing different cultures and things like that. So I'd done my research, and then I knew that okay, if I wanted to go to school, it wasn't very viable to go to school the year after I've done KCSE, because that would mean I'd have to be studying for both KCSE and SATs. So I was just like, okay, I'll do my research, give myself some time to study, and then apply for the application cycle like the year after that. So yeah, from there it was interesting. I was just looking for a bunch of opportunities, and at the time I think a lot of the organizations that supported people studying abroad were Equity and Zawadi. I tried out for both of them. I didn't make it through to Zawadi, but I was able to like attend some of their like not necessarily boot camps, but just like information sessions about things. And some of my friends were in it too, so they were telling me the kind of things that they were doing, essay practicing essays,
the kind of like drills that we're doing with SATs. I also knew people who did this equity thing. I'd made it into equity, but then they like cut some people from the program. They worked with a smaller group. So it was a little bit sad at the time because I was just like, okay, I don't have the support that I thought I would have. And now I'd have to kind of do things on my own. And my family was just like, oh no, like, what happened? They're a little bit angry at these places because, they'd given me a lot of hope about joining these programs, but I wasn't able to. I was like kind of cut from the program. So that kind of like mentorship and support was not immediately available. But I still had friends within those spaces and they talked to me about things. And I had some family in the US who were able to send me some textbooks to practice with. So practice tests and things like that. So I was just doing these things on my own because I had been accepted into JQuat. I had accepted into a local university, and my family was like, why are you trying to reach for something when you already have something in your hand? And they just wanted me to stay there. It's a good school. It was like it was top in mechanical engineering, and it was just the place that they were like, you've earned it. You have something in your hand. Why are you still trying to go abroad and things like that? But I'm like, I have a dream. I have a dream. I want to go. I want to experience something different. I feel like JQuat is an amazing school, but at the same time, it made sense as just like the next step going from Kenyan high school, Kenyan university. My mom wanted me to stay, do my undergrad, and then do masters abroad, grad school abroad, but I really just wanted to get out there. So that was kind of the driving force. So I was studying on my own, going online, finding just different websites and different like notes and things that I guess American high schoolers used to study. They're just different websites that had like notes on literature and some of these things that are in the exam that they assume everyone knows because people did, because it's made for American students. But for some of us, it's the kind of exam where it's less about the content and more about how you answer the questions. Like this standardized testing, it's an exam to be learned. So just trying to get as much resources. Along the way, there were scams here and there because there are all these like tiny little like businesses that are like, oh, we'll help you get to the US, we'll teach you how to do SATs. But it's just like they have access to like this software with the same 10 practice tests, and they just charge people a lot of money to just come and sit in a room and do questions. It's not 100% guaranteed. It's just, but they've already earned the money. So navigating things on your own is a bit interesting. You'll see a lot of things like that. You'll see a lot of people who are trying to sell you dreams and wishes because they also get commissions by trying to get people to study abroad. But like just being focused and just finding your story and what makes you unique is like a huge thing. Because another reason why I wanted to apply to American universities is it's one of the few places where like personal essays are really important, and it's not just about grades. Even though I'd done well up until that point in school, not many places just ask about you as a person. And a lot of the times when you're young and going into interviews, you try and project something rather than express who you are. So I think having opportunities to write about myself, even though that's a stressful part of the application for a lot of people, I enjoyed it because it's like, wow, this is the first time someone's asking me about things that I enjoy, and it's the first time I'm like reflecting on who I am and the things that I want the world to know about me. So it was a tough process, but it was necessary, and it was like there's a lot of growth there. Did that. Talked to my high school teachers, made sure you maintain those connections for everyone who's still in high school. Like even I knew so many people had the mindset, especially when they entered fourth year, where they're like, I'm just going to study and I'm going to leave and I'm not going to come back unless I'm clearing. A lot of people have mixed experiences with high school. But let me tell you, maintain 1-2 connections because you do need recommendation letters. You do need people in your corner to write good things about you. Or even if you have to kind of like guide them on what to put in the letter, you still need someone to sign, and you still need them to like be there for you in that capacity. So find a teacher, find certain subjects where it's like, try and stand out a little bit in class, let them know you a little bit more personally than just a student that they teach, and you'll be able to call on them when it comes time for you to do your applications. But yeah, all of these things happen for like ran to submit my applications. A big thing, a huge thing that I feel like is not talked about enough is the cost of applying.
Yeah.
Even it's so expensive. It's so expensive to come here, and that shouldn't be something discouraging. It's just something for you to think about in advance and seek support. Because for me, there's certain things I only found out through like my friends who are in these other programs that have these resources. They're like, did you know that you can apply to get waivers for certain application fees? Did you know that you can do this, this, and that? Like, look for things like that, or even reach out to universities or reach out to different things that, and express that, there's certain waivers, like the College Board, just different organizations that manage SATs and all these things. Like, you can reach out and ask for waivers. Yeah, you just try and find resources that can support you, because it can be discouraging, because for every school that you're sending certain applications to, it costs money. For you to be in the system that registers you as a student, even after you've come in, it costs money. For the visa interview, it costs money to apply, to get the interview. And then once you get the visa, sometimes that's also another fee. They call it a reciprocity fee, like to issue it out. So it's just so many things that can seem daunting, but resources that exist. Reach out to alumni, school alumni networks. Some of us, we understand the struggle. So it's like certain situations where it's like people can have reached out to me and been like, okay, where do I get this? Like, you can get sponsors from local alumni, from local, like, just people who've been through the system and understand it and have been able to be successful after it. Is just a great way for them to pay it forward also. So don't be discouraged, but just know it's a long process and it's expensive, but day by day, step by step, check one thing off at a time and you'll be fine. But yeah, that was the application process, sent in all my documents, and then the waiting and the opening up. I'm sure a lot of people have seen these videos online of young students like opening up their acceptances and their rejections, and it's like you need a balance of those things. Like, watch some of them and see how people deal with the rejection, and watch some of them and see that there's also like a lot of joy to be had. Like, get excited. That's another thing. Like, be excited. At this point, if you're looking to study abroad, like, you're already someone who's ambitious. You're already someone who's like driven. You're already someone who's like worked hard and like seen that you can go do something more or do something greater than that. A lot of us have just like followed the steps that just make sense. You go to primary, you go to secondary, now it's time for university, but like you are deviating from a path, and that's very brave, and just believe in yourself to do that. So so did all these applications, sent them in, then the MIT acceptance came, and it was one of the first ones that came. And it's very funny because after that I didn't even care about the others, but I was just like, MIT came. I screamed. Everyone in the house was like, what's going on? People didn't know whether it was good or bad.
Yeah.
Everyone just ran into the room. Like, I was with my cousin. Everyone ran into the room like, okay, is this good? Because I was with my cousin and we were screaming and crying. So it's like, is this happy? Like, what should we do? Like, should we, what they're preparing speeches in their mind, and then I'm like, yes, I just showed them I got in. It was so good. There was so much celebration, and it was so validating because like I understand my family, like they support me, but at the time, it's a big decision and it's scary, and they're just like, if you already have something for you here, like you will be accepted to Kenyan universities before you get to go to the American one, depending on how you apply. So it's like, on one hand, they're like, okay, we support you, but also if you have to be realistic and stay home and do this now, they're always like taking a step back in that way. Doing something like this just show them, oh my gosh, you can like get up and like reach for something and actually do it. So I think it's one of those times where they're like, oh my gosh, she's growing up, look like she did all these things. And so it gives them more confidence, because I think it was very hard line for my siblings growing up. It was very much like, if you want to study abroad, do it for grad school. Undergrad is a whole different.
Yeah. Steph, before I have some follow-up questions before you continue with the rest of before you continue with the rest of how you applied and how you found yourself at MIT, and then you will take us through the MIT journey. But let's start from, I want to just have like a quick picture of the whole process in terms of timelines, and then also we'll talk about the cost as well, like just rough figure. And let's use Kenyan setup as an example, right? Because we are both from Kenya. So if I'm a Form 4, if I'm in Form 4 right this year, and I want to do, or I just graduated actually, and I want to go to MIT, or I want to go to a US university for undergrad. So now I don't know this process because personally I went abroad for post undergrad. Like I did my undergrad in Kenya, and then I went out of Kenya for postgrad, which was like a different game, and I think many people kind of are familiar with that. But with the undergrad, especially in the US, it's a bit tricky. And you mentioned about the SATs, so I want to know, map for us the timelines, like, and also just what's the name, best practices that you now wish you knew in hindsight. Like when should someone start applying? When you are in Form 4? Because I know they need your KCSE exams, KCSE certificate, whatever, KCSE results. So when should you start thinking about it? When should you start preparing for SATs? So just map that timeline. And then I think it takes around 1 year. So give us in terms of like, okay, this is for you. This is the month you started thinking about it. And then this is the month this is how long you prepared for those SATs. This is when you set for SAT. This is when the SAT results came. I don't know if it's like instant. And because I know it's also, people take ages to several months to prepare for SATs. So I don't know if you still remember, but just give us that time.
Yeah, okay. So even I think thinking about it, I started thinking about, studying abroad a while before I actually started doing the logistics. But even a time like, let's say you've just gotten your KCSE results, I think it's depending on the school you go to. Some people go to like international schools that have resources that can start prepping you earlier. But I think right after, after you've done your KCSE, that's a big thing to focus on. I think that's also part of the application, working on building your profile. Focus on your KCSE, focus on that. That's a huge exam, huge way to show your academic, achievements. Do that. Get your results, celebrate yourself. Like, I think it's around like February when the results come out, have that celebration. And then when you're riding that confidence, let me tell you, that's the time, hit the ground running. Like, take some time to rest. I know, like, all the way from like late November or December, all the way until like February, you've been resting, recuperating, you get your results, ride the wave of that achievement. Start to now do like the logistics of see the timetable for when SATs are coming. The thing about SATs is not like KCSE. There are multiple times a year when they offer. It's been a minute since I took it, but there are multiple times that they offer, and there's also multiple exam centers. So around like, I would say around like January, February, just loosely start doing your search on where the SAT test centers are, what you'll need to do, like the costs, and just have a number in your head of, what the first hurdle, paying for SATs and things like that. So around this time, early in the year, January, February, March, start doing that research and then start finding resources to start preparing. This whole year is going to be when the application season hits heavy, like around September. There's different like deadlines. There's like early deadlines in around September, and then there's later deadlines in December. And then you'll find out, for at least MIT, for instance, like you find out in March 14th. They call it Pi Day because 3.14. But that's when they release the early decisions happen a little bit earlier, but the regular intake, the results come out in March of the next year. So around now, start doing your research and start seeing where you can get resources to study. Identify like 2 dates. Like there's going to be, they don't mind if you take the SAT multiple times. And it's also up to you. Like, do you want to take some time, a good amount of time to like practice or take the test? Or if you have the resources, do you want to study, take the test, understand how it works, and then you'll have a chance to take it again? It's up to you. But just see when the deadlines are for applications for your schools, and then see how many SAT dates you have. So that's like early in the year. And then start finding resources and like applying to places like Equity. Like they have like a really solid program, or like my friends attended this program and they did pretty well. It's just nice to have a big group of people working with you. It's very encouraging. So there's that, or make friends with people who are in the program so they can give you some of their resources as well. Zawadi is also another one. There might have been more that have come up if you just do research.
There is also, let me mention KenSAP as well.
Oh, yes, KenSAP.
Cancer, yes. I think they're also doing amazing. I'm supposed to have a conversation with one of the people there, but yes, I think they're doing amazing as well. So and like you mentioned, they have quite a number,
Yeah, there's quite a number. So start around this time in the year, February, March, just start looking around and connecting with these things. Cancer, there also used to be another one, ESEP or something, but these ones are really good. A nice group of people who are focused on the same goal and people who want to see you succeed. So that's very helpful. And then after that, find those resources to study. I think at some point, the College Board started partnered with like Khan Academy and has like some free resources online of actual practice tests. But there's other books and other resources that are a bit harder than the SAT but can help you prepare for it. It's just like in school, there was like KCSE level, and then there's other groups like JESMA, all those other people who are like, it's difficult, but that's what you use to prepare for the thing, so you're not as tense during the exam. So Khan Academy College Board has like the real, like the raw tests of how it's going to happen. But I think Barron's, I'm trying to think of these different brands there, but there's so many things online where you can be like, let me practice with these, do a bunch of practice exams, and then save the real tests for like simulations for yourself, like mocks. Create for yourself a mocks environment, like learn about how long the exam takes, because it's a long exam. Like there's breaks, but it's a long exam. Later in the year, as you're like getting ready to take the actual SAT, very good to actually do practice tests, like questions. Don't read books until the end. Don't read like the textbooks or like the support books without taking the questions, because this is an exam to practice. And then also after you get your results, this is also a really good time, because you have to go back to if you did really well, the school highlights you. That's a great time to reconnect with your teachers, because some of you leave high school and you're like, I'm never coming back. You must come back. You must come back if you want to study abroad and get those references. You really must come back. So those times when again, ride accomplishments. When you've done well, go and shake your class teacher's hand. Go shake your favorite like subject teacher's hand. Tell them thank you, appreciate them. Just nurture those relationships. And then when it comes time for you to ask for reference letters and recommendation letters, you have your people there. So that's the thing. I think that's like early in the year, those are the things you should focus on. And then later, there's another program that was really good for me, PACE. I think it was started by Peggy Mativo, who's like a Harvard alum, Harvard Business School alum. She started this program. It's promoting access to community education. It's a really good volunteer opportunity to be trained as a teaching assistant, and then you get to work in different schools close to you. So you get assigned to primary and secondary school. And I think that's a big thing, because I think for a lot of Kenyan students, you think that your grades are it. Like for a lot of people, extracurriculars are important. So play those sports, round out. It might be, okay, if you're in Form 4 right now, or later on, it might be hard to start a sport, but start cultivating interests outside of your books. Like have an interest, even if it's not a co-curricular. During the holidays, nurture like art. Figure out if like art is something that is meaningful to you, just something that rounds you out as a person. Like in the recently, there was a big discussion in the US about affirmative action and about how people's applications are regarded. And there was an argument that was like, the people who led the fight against it were like, oh, how can a student who's done so well, got perfect scores in the essay, did all these things academically, how can they not get into Ivy League school? And on one hand, there's a problem with the system, but on the other hand, you need to round yourself out as a person. It's not enough to get all A's or to have like a fantastic GPA. It's also about who are you? What did you do outside of the books? How do you relate with people? Have you volunteered? Have you done things that help us paint a picture of you outside of numbers? So that's really important. During this time, that big gap, like find an interest. It's also good for you because it's for your own personal development. They want people who come and will be able to exist outside of the context of school and studies. They want you to be able to engage with the clubs that they have, the societies, the sororities, all these different social groups. So it's important to do those things. So that career, don't just be like, oh, I'm studying for SAT, or I'm like, applying. enjoy, like, develop yourself as a person a little bit more, develop your interests, do volunteer work is excellent. It always looks good, and this is why I really like PACE, because it will give you stories to talk about even in your essays, which is another thing. Learn how to write essays, personal statements, read examples, talk to people who've done it before. What stories did they highlight? Because this, you know, as a Kenyan, you're already different. You're someone who's like not from America, you already have a different experience. You just as you are, as you exist, you have value in yourself. Like, you have your own personal story, and those are the things that they want you to highlight. They want like a diverse group of students with different perspectives. So share yours and start to figure out how to be comfortable sharing your perspective, be it through learning how to write essays or learning which things to do, to like highlight in your essays and things. And then later on in the year, get your recommendation letters down. Like, you've mentioned it early in the year to your teachers, mention it again, give them ample time, because you know how things can get if you're from places where people take that time and they don't see this as something like really important, especially when they're going into third term. People are focused on candidates, they're focused on marking, mocks, all these things. They're also stressed. Teachers have their own things that they need to do. So really early on, because they already know you, they already know that part of you, if you can, get your recommendations laterally, know the ones you need, know the subjects you're going to ask for them from, see the schools. Some schools want one from science, humanities, and more general, like they call it a class counselor or like school counselor, but that's going to be probably your class teacher. See what areas you need to get letters from, and start in the middle of the year or June when they're on holiday, when they've just come back and things are easy. Go and ask them. Go and be like, hi, I need these letters, or figure out templates that you can help them like through and help them highlight. Tell them what things to highlight. So, because they will not edit. I know my teachers just wanted me to tell them, what do you need me to say, and so I can do it once and for all. So find good templates that you can help guide them, and then they will write the things, and they'll do that little signature, and you'll be good. So yeah. That's that. And then you'll start to apply. You'll have all your documents together. Apply for SATs. I think SAT results come about a month after you've done them. It's not too far. It doesn't take too long. But that's also just something you have to just check, because things have changed since I did it. So just do that research. And early in the year, set out a timeline for yourself. Early in the year, do the research. Towards the middle of the year, gather your documents, and towards the end, it's prep and practice, and then send out your applications and just pray, do whatever you want, and just believe in yourself. So that's kind of the timeline.
Okay, amazing. Let's talk about before we talk about the money, the M word or the C word, the cost or money word. From what I'm hearing, Stephanie, it looks like I don't know. It looks like, and I'm bringing this up because there is a lot of scammers in Kenya. I'm sure you heard about the Finland scam, and like people just tell you bring money and I'll help you do this, and sometimes they are just scamming you. So let's watch out for that. So I want you to mention, number one, I don't know, what are some of the, and you mentioned that you were scammed, I'm not sure, but like what are some of for the students who are thinking of going abroad for studies, what are some of the things that it should be like red flag, like you being scammed? So talk about that. Yes. And then, number two, I'm hearing that from your story, it looks like anyone, even those who've gone to like first year or undergrad and they did really well, they have like very strong grades in KCSE, like undergrad in Kenya, and maybe they want to reconsider and try going abroad. It looks like so it's like the KCSE people, and maybe they just started their undergrad in Kenya and they are listening to this. It looks like it's something they can do on their own. Like you can like apply to do SAT, like prepare to do SAT, do the SAT, then apply to uni, and then if you get accepted, that is it. Is that the whole story?
Yeah. Okay. So like honestly, it's not easy to, but I did it. Like if you are worried about like, oh, can I do this on my own? I did it on my own. Like if you have access to the internet, and like to say it on my own is kind of like I did it on my own in that I did my research on my own, but then I also sought out resources and groups of people who can be helpful to me. So on my own in that, like, I didn't apply through a program, I didn't do concept, I didn't do those things, but it's finding resources, because it got to a point, because I'd started at JCOT a little bit, and I was just like, no, I had a dream. I knew that I can go for something. And it was also a leap of faith, because I remember I went to the office to submit a deferral, and they laughed at me and they said, "You're deferring for something that doesn't exist." And I was like, yes, just sign the paper, because this is a leap of faith. But I didn't want to completely do away with what I had, but I was like, please just give me a deferral. If it doesn't work out, you can laugh at me times 2, but at least I tried. So I think something like that.
I wanted to just pause and highlight what you just said. Like, do not, because I think because of excitement, some students even don't show up for admission in local university. Because they've been told, or maybe they are seeing that there is promise abroad. So I like your idea of deferring. So maybe that is a good idea. Like, instead of just not showing up or declining the offer, maybe get admitted to local uni, but then request for deferral as you go through this process.
It will also, and it's also going to build confidence for like your family, because there's a lot of parents who are just, they're waiting for you to get to university, and they're like, I've done my job. Like, from now on, you're an adult, you're independent. And so telling them that you want to like pause and go for this thing that is not certain. You want people on your side. You want people who will support you. So like, if you have a plan, that's the biggest thing. Have a plan and learn how to communicate your plan. It'll be really important to develop that sense of like self advocacy, because it'll also make you confident, because it'll be like, okay, I have a plan. If this doesn't work out, I have this, but now it's time to fight. It's time to like prove, like, even if it's you're like, okay, I'm going to prove them wrong, I'm going to do it. Like, even if that's the initial motivation, what carries you is, okay, I have a solid plan. So definitely do defer, focus on, don't give up in the middle of Form 4 and be like, I'm just going to apply to school. No. Send your application, send your results out there, accept, have your name in there, and then you can defer. And it won't be a problem. It wasn't a problem for me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Talk about red flags that you're being scammed, especially by these programs.
Great. So red flags is overconfidence. There's some people who'll be like, guaranteed, if you come here, we'll take you to the US. There's nothing that's guaranteed in this life. Like, I think there's a lot of people who are they have commissions that they get when they get people there. So they will want to get you there, but they might also make you aim low. For me, it's like, if you find people who are primarily representing certain schools, I noticed that like there's someone who was like a family friend who was like, oh yeah, we have connections at such and such school in this state, like, and then I looked at the school and I'm like, okay, it's a college in the US, but do I want to go there? And like, what am I setting myself up for? Do they even have financial aid? Some of these places don't have financial aid for international students. So like, red flag is when they're only representing certain schools. If those schools are schools that you want, sure, great, you found a recruiter, that's great. But if they're like only telling you, forget about these other places, apply to here, here, and here, red flag. They just want a commission, and they won't really care about you after you've left. You land in the US and you don't have money, you don't have financial aid, like, it's going to be a problem. Second thing, always visit places and take a look around. For me, it was like SAT things. Like, I didn't have the support, so we started to panic. My sister was like, okay, I saw this sign in town that said SAT, TOEFL, all that stuff. And when we went there, I just looked around, and you see, it was just a small room with like 10 computers and just like some old software that just was basically things you can find online. Again, like I said, Khan Academy and College Board have like sample like test prep software and whatnot that you can do on your own, and they were charging people for that. And it was one person. It was so crazy because it was one woman who was like in charge of teaching everyone, and she would come in, look over people's shoulders, and then go. She was also employed at like ZTech, which is like across the street. So she was like, she would come in for like 30 minutes. You have all these people around. You haven't even gotten a chance to be answered. And then she's like, oh no, my shift at ZTech is starting. she runs out, and you're just there on your own. So you can just see, look around. If you go to these places and you're curious, tell them, can I look around your space? Like, this is the time to just advocate for yourself. Be bold. Be like, oh, can I see what's going on? And then learn how to say no, or not learn how to delay a no. Be like, okay, let me go. Then you can use the default excuse. Let me go talk to my parents, so let me figure it out, and then I'll get back to you. Take a card, never show up, come back. Because those things are just going to be a waste of time. It's just things you can also do on your own. So, and it's a thing where it's like, oh, you've invested your money in something, and then you can be like, oh, okay, at least I'm doing this course. It's going to be fine. It won't be fine. Like, they're not really helpful, and they give you this false sense of, I've done something and I've invested in something and things will come out of it. No, they don't really care. They've already been paid. So whether or not you do well is not their problem. That's another red flag. And yeah, also know history. See their history. Like, have they had histories of people passing? Can you believe those statistics? Do they have testimonies? Things like that. There are some places like UNICEF. Okay, but UNICEF I think is mostly for UK. There are certain places where it's like they're basically travel agents or things that compile for you all the work that you need to do, and then they help you, and they're established, and they're at education fairs and things like that. Okay, you can trust those. If you have the resources to pay a fee and let someone help you with the logistics, sure. But it's all things you can do on your own if you plan, if you're structured, if you have your like bullets and things that you need to do. That's another red flag. Yeah, so yeah, people like certain recruiters look at the resources. If they look sketchy, trust your judgment, learn how to say no. Yeah, don't pay crazy fees, because even Americans are getting scammed. Online they have courses that cost thousands of dollars, and they're like, guaranteed, we're going to boot camp, we're going to train you. And then it's like, when you don't get to your things and you're crying, they don't care. They have the money in the bank. So yeah, learn that certain things are also a business, and it's you. It's also you who needs to invest in yourself. And the process is stressful, but you learn so much, and it'll be helpful to you also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you for mentioning, because oh my God, I cringe every time, but also I understand. Like, every time that all these scamming stories come out in Kenya, I was watching the news. I'm like, you did not need to pay money for that. Like, that is something you can go online. Even getting admission to university, right? You actually don't know, if you know what you are doing, you can just go online, look for the university you are interested in, especially for masters and above. For undergrad, like, someone is still young and maybe they are not very, they don't know how to navigate. But like for postgrad, you can literally just go online, go to that university website and apply on your own. You don't need you don't need to pay someone to do it for you. Like, so anyway, some little things like those that make me cringe, but also it's just lack of knowledge. And what I'm hoping to expose here, like, to bring all these stories and testimonials, like, and your story is amazing. I did not know that you did this on your own. So again, super commendable.
It was a journey, but yeah.
Man, like, you were 17, 18, and you did this on your own.
Yo, I had a vision. And also, again, just a testimony, just believe in yourself, because there's so many things we're just like, we're used to being in certain structures where the thinking has been done for us. Your work is just to go to class and to study, but there's so many things you can just, if you try, just yearn for it, go after it, you can do it. Talk to people who've done it, get confidence. But yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. Yes, I forget the struggle, I forget the journey.
Commendable, man, commendable. Tell us let's talk about the Nini. How much is SAT? How much?
Let me actually SAT course.
Do they change?
Let me get an updated.
I think it's something they have online, right?
They have online. Yeah, I'm going online because things have changed, and also the exam. Okay.
I'm seeing $68.
Yes, $68 for the general SAT. So there's two things also.
Yeah.
Some schools want SATs. Specifically, some schools can take SATs or ACTs, which is a different standardized test. But let me tell you, take SATs. It's taken by everyone, unless the school specifically says they want ACT. And there are more resources and test centers and things like that. So SATs, the general test is 68. And you see that if you go on the website,
Which
are
is
seeing
around
some
what?
students.
Around 8K Kenya shillings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, let me check. Yeah, around 8K
Yes.
to start. And then let me just also search. I have my laptop here.
Yeah, and I hear there are also like test center fee, like wherever you are sitting the exam, is there like a fee at the test center?
Yes. So there's this thing called, let me find it, SAT Kenya. There was this place that you have to register from.
Oh,
I think, is it Learning and Testing Services, I think.
Okay.
I'm just going to the website really quickly.
So you prepare for this SAT and then you show up at a test center.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes.
And wait, I forgot to mention how long is the exam? How long does it take, the test? You sit
Yes.
there for
So
how long?
okay. It's a few hours. Let me recheck because SAT duration. Okay, so there's two things. There's like the general SAT test. Yeah, the general SAT test is the digital SAT is like 2 hours and 14 minutes. There's like a reading section that's about an hour. There's a math section which is about around 70 minutes, and then there's another that's for like reading and writing, and then there's an essay section which is dependent on like if your school wants the writing or like the extra essay writing. There's also that I think is about 50 minutes around that. So it's about 3 hours. Yeah, so it's about 3.5 hours, but there'll be breaks. Like a 10-minute break in between reading and writing, reading, writing, and math, and then another break. And then if you're taking the essay, which I think you should take also, there's that another break in between that. So it's about like budget like 4 hours. Yeah, I remember it being around like 4 hours.
Okay.
Which I don't think there's any test, I think, in Kenya that we've done back to back for like 4 hours. But there's breaks in between. But it's also another thing, like your own mental stamina. It's a marathon, and that's why practicing will help you. Practicing in an exam setting, give yourself the exact go online, see the exact minutes, set your timers, test yourself, and learn that's like kind of how long you need to be sitting in there. Because some people, you get tired, your mind drifts. Have snacks. You need to have snacks. You need to have your little things that will help carry you through.
Yeah.
And then, but I think the College Book has like some online tests with inbuilt timers. So that's also something. But save those ones for later. Those are your mock exams. Don't start with those and then waste your precious resources from neck.
Yes.
Because what is your neck? So the cost is that's 68. The subject tests, which are separate specific tests, like I know for MIT they wanted math and physics. Or like math and like a science. So each of those, there's like a basic registration fee here that they're saying is $26, and then 22 on top of everything. So like maybe what's 26? Like maybe 4K and an extra 3K per subject test. So you can take multiple in a day. So in total it's like prepare like, let me check LTS because in Kenya, unless it's changed, there was this one organization that coordinates people registering for SATs, and it's partnered with different schools like Brookhouse, Brayside or Brayburn, like different test centers for people to take the exams. So I think Learning and Testing Services, and I think they might have their own like registration fee. Let me see.
Yeah,
because it is a business for them as well.
Yeah.
So I will compile like some information and then send it to you in a doc just to summarize all these things.
Yes.
But prepare around, like I would say the cost is around like 4 just to do exams. So beware. Like if you have those funds, you can take it multiple times. But I would rather say invest time in preparing, take your own practice test. So by the time you're taking the test a little bit later, it's just another practice test. And be excited. You'll get to see the inside of Brookhouse. I went to Brookhouse and I was like, wow, this is how other people are living. So that will just be another practice test, different location. So I'll prepare all these resources and I'll just do my search because things have changed. But there's that.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did your SAT at Brookhouse?
Yeah, so I did at 2 places. So I did, I think the general SAT I did in Bremen, and then the subject test I did at Brookhouse.
Okay.
I think. So yeah, so since I was able to get waivers, I was like, I'm doing everything I can get.
Yes,
so I did. I did the ones that they asked for. There was physics. Loved physics, so of course I did physics. And then there's math. There's level 1 and level 2. Forget about level 1. If you want to stand out, do level 2. It's not bad. Like, don't worry. Like, I think our Kenyan maths is the conch mathematics, you'll meet it in university. But the SAT test, it's nothing that you can't do. It's similar to those questions. A lot of it is like, those questions that you got towards the end of your math paper, where it's like how many triangles like some of them are logic. It's logic questions rather than pure mathematics, which is why I think it's very important. Like for the general SAT is more logic and stuff. The subject tests have more content, but you can do it. Like if you've navigated the KCSE,
okay,
there's nothing you can't do. There's nothing you can't do here.
Yeah. All right. We can. There is so much. I'm realizing there is so much. And yeah. I still want to hear your MIT experience, how you adapted to MIT when you left. But before that, I want to Stephanie talk about scholarship that you. I don't know. Did you study under scholarship? So you will touch on that. But before you touch on the scholarship, because I want to talk about the scholarship and maybe just give us a brief story of your MIT life. How was it like transitioning abroad, the culture shocks when you are young, the confidence that you need to keep, otherwise it will be eroded. But before we go there, talk about the visa.
Yes, the visa.
F1. Now, I've seen students who've been depressed because now, as we've mentioned, they turned down the local university admission because they got a scholarship and they got admission abroad. And then they go to visa and the visa is denied. And now, what do you do? So talk to us about the visa process. We mentioned there are costs involved, but the costs I think you can check online.
Yeah, we can get the numbers.
How did you prepare for the F1? Is it like F1 visa? What are some of the questions you are asked? What are some of the things that you think students don't? I don't know, just so that you are not denied a visa. I mean, people should be aware that you can be denied, even if you have a scholarship.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. The times are tumultuous. I think a thing that helped out so much is going for really strong schools, so that by the time you're going to that visa interview, they're like, whoa. And for 2 things. So I'll wrap up the scholarship thing in this answer. MIT had need blind admissions. That term need blind is really important. It means that it's a school where regardless of how much you're able to pay, if you're admitted, you will be able to come to this school. So they will take in your information and they will generate a financial aid package for you. And this is most common in like bigger schools, higher name schools. I know like there's a lot of talk about like, don't just go for name brand, do this, but it can also be really smart to target those schools because they have a high international student population. They will have scholarships specific to you. So go for bigger schools or like schools that specifically say they have need blind admissions and they have financial aid for international students. That is going to be very important for the visa in the sense that for you to get this document called an I-20, which is like basically it's your school telling the embassy that this is someone who's actually been admitted. We've verified that they can afford to be here. Here is our stamp of approval that when they get here, they're not going to be broke, they're not going to, etc. We've checked their finances. So how America does it is, for other places like Germany, when I was traveling to Germany for an exchange program, I had to like bring had to bring financial information that showed that I am able to afford the cost of my stay, and they have like a limit of like, okay, how much you need to have per month for the duration of time. America, how they do it is the school does that background check. So your school needs to go to a school with a good international students office. They know this process. They will not give you an I-20 until they've ensured you have scholarship money or your family has enough money to sustain you here. They'll check your bank statements. They'll do all these background checks, and then they'll give you an I-20, and that's the document you take to the visa. Yeah, to the visa office. So that's also something that happens beforehand, once they've accepted you. And then the thing about the appointment is be on time, be early, be a little bit early to the appointment, and so it can also allow you to calm down and relax. Because some people are running all the way to the appointment, and you're so stressed out you don't even know how to answer the questions. Be there like 15 minutes before, up to 15 minutes before your time. Go in, rest. And I think when I went to do my visa interview, I think there's like a couple of people that I saw get rejected. One of them was a student, and it was so sad because his questions were like, oh, where are you going in America? Like, where are you going? Is there anything you're excited about in that city? He went blank. He just knew the name of his school. He knew, I'm going to this school. He didn't know anything about the city, didn't have anything to talk about. And this is another thing where like America has this like informal formality. When they come and they're starting a conversation, you'll be shocked. Especially if you get like interviewers who are American, they are not going to just be like, where are your documents? Da 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 da, where are you going? Stamp, done. It'll be like, oh, hey, so, congratulations on going on like your admission. So are you excited about going to this school? What do you like about the places? You might think this is just like conversational, like, superficial things, but they want to know if, are you the person who really applied for this? Do you really want to come here for the right reasons? Have you done your research? Like, why are you coming to the States? Are you looking to go back home? What are your plans? So they'll introduce these things. They have to check that you're the person who's applying. You're not applying for someone else or doing some identity theft or whatever. So if you have done your research and you know about the city you're going to, go and find some 2-3 tourist things that people do in Boston, whichever city you're going to. Talk about that. Be like, oh my gosh, I heard they have this fun fact. I'm so excited to go see. Like that, then they'll know, okay, you're the one on the application. You've done this. Oh yeah, what are you thinking of doing? Like, what do you think you want to study? Even if you don't know, say something like, I'm curious about this in the school, which is a question that you probably answered in your application questions. I'm curious about this program, and I think it's going to help me when I come back to Kenya. That's another thing. Another checklist they want to see if you're coming here to stay. And even if your plan is to get work, and don't mention that in the interview. Don't mention that, oh yeah, I'm planning to like study and maybe get a job in the US. Patriotism, say that I'm going to study. I'm really curious about this. And like, when I come back to Kenya, I think this is something that's growing. Like, I want to study this because I think there's opportunities here in Kenya to grow. Say that, because these little like small talk questions are also ways that they're like screening you. So I think for the guy who I saw him getting rejected, he froze, and they do not like to see you freeze. They do not like to see you process, because that's how they're like, oh, are you a person of interest? Have you forgotten? Were you rehearsing and you've forgotten your prompts? Those kinds of things. So it's like, be calm. You've done all the work, but do the research and understand that there's things behind those questions. Just be excited. Show that you're really excited. Talk about the school. Talk about the city you're going to, and like slide in there somewhere. I would really like to come back to do this and this. And then they'll be like, okay, great. You speak the language, you're confident. That's also another thing. If you freeze, they're like, how are you coming to America and you can't have a conversation with an American, or I can't have a conversation at the embassy? Those are the many things that they're checking. And then another person who didn't get accepted is they didn't have information about where they're going to stay. So you don't have to memorize the address, but memorize the city and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be staying in this dorm. When they ask you where you're going to be staying, I'm going to be staying in a dorm. If you have like a host family, if you're going for a program and they've paired you with a host family, talk about that. Like, those are the little check marks. Where are you? Do you know where you're going? Are you the person in this thing? Do you have enough resources to get you there? Talk about your scholarship, whether you have a stipend. Just make them confident that, okay, you'll be set, and there's no reason to doubt your intentions or your ability to like exist in the US. So I think that's the big thing. And also again, going after bigger schools is more protective, because like if you like they wouldn't want to deny someone the chance of going to like Harvard or an MIT or this. Not that other schools don't deserve people here, but they'll start to question, do you have scholarships? Are you going to afford the cost of living? But these are the places that have all the scholarships, all the support, all the resources. they'll be like, excellent, congratulations, you'll get that slip so fast, and then they'll tell you to go pay up. But you get the slip, you'll be, I think that's the most I can get. I think the advice I can give, just review the documents you need to bring. Don't make mistakes like, oh, you didn't bring a photo, or you didn't print out the DS-160. Like, they're very clear with the instructions. Tick all those boxes, and then the interview, just relax. Yeah.
Oh my, I'm still thinking about this, Stephanie, and we'll have another panel, because it's really sad. I've watched, I mean, my visa was also rejected to the UK, but for another reason. But then I've learned that they are so basic. I call them basic, but people are not aware, especially students, and especially coming from the Kenyan setup, where you need to be like the soft skills, the soft skills, like appearing confident, even if you are faking it. But like, how do you appear when I see you as an interviewer, if I'm interviewing you, how do you appear to me? Like those things, like faking confidence, faking enthusiasm, and just appearing. You have to appear, like, even if you don't know, like you have to think on your feet. Freezing is not give you a visa. So it's good you mentioned we'll have another. I think many students are going for their visas, for their F1 visas. Around May? Is it May, June normally?
Yeah, I think so, because right now is when acceptances are coming, and then after that there's like about a month of you coordinating with the university, and then because I'm trying to think. Actually, this March, April time, because what happened for me also, I was able to attend a campus preview weekend, which is like a visit weekend that the school had, and they got me over here. So I was also lucky that I had that experience going to the visa interview, and I knew what to ask for. Like, and then it was not even for F1, it was just for a visitor visa, and they were so excited to just even see MIT, so that was helpful. But what you said about that confidence, and the thing is, in Kenya we have such strong, like, I think they call it filial piety. When you're talking to someone older than you or in authority, you bring yourself down, like that meekness. We don't want that here.
Man,
another thing.
Don't
do that.
Thing.
It's a different culture. They'll just see that as you hesitating, or they read it completely differently. Like, just be expressive and just be confident. Answer their questions. Have a smile. Be like, I know who I am, I know what's bringing me here, and I deserve to be here. Like, no playing it small. It helped a lot to just be excited. Just be exuberant.
I'm actually writing it down. I'll organize a live stream so that students can come in and ask questions.
With questions.
So I'll call you back, especially on that visa thing. Good. Yes, just focusing on visa thing. Around around end of April. Okay. So I've noted that down. But yes, now we'll have to stop there because we have a lot of stories from that. But then I'm just curious to know, because this is another thing that I'm very curious about. When I left Kenya from undergrad to go to Oxford for my PhD, my confidence was eroded, and I really struggled so much. I was depressed, I think, in my first year, and just mostly because, I don't know, especially these top universities, there is a way. You are also a minority. Most of these places are like white male dominated. So especially if you are studying STEM engineering, it even becomes worse. And so for me, I was really struggling to adapt abroad, and I felt like I don't know. I felt like maybe I was a mistake. Maybe they made a mistake admitting me. I don't belong here, and my confidence was just like plummeting. And I was 24. I was 24 years. Now I'm trying to picture. I was like, thank God I didn't study undergrad abroad. Now my question is, if you are 18 and you leave Kenya and you are in this new environment, new culture, different setup, how do you keep sane?
It was hard, like, and hear it from me. So whatever my lessons can be passed on to you. It was really difficult. And I very much underestimated it. Again, like riding the high, like, oh, I got into this school. This was my dream school. And, up until that point, like we got this speech in high school because they're like, oh, you're in a good school. You're probably like the top 10 from wherever you're from. But here, everyone is top 10. Or here, everyone is like the number one from the like county. Or, that kind of like pep talk. It just, somehow I'd forgotten all of that. I came to America, I was just excited. It was so new, and I didn't stop to think about like culture or community, or I didn't know any better that you need to seek out a community. And it was really hard for me. Like it's to the point where like I'll talk about two things. I'll talk about like culture, and I'll talk about mental health. On the culture aspect, I was so wrapped up in trying to find a new experience that I didn't cement my village. You need your you need your village, you need your people, like people who relate to you, people who understand, who you can talk about these things with. Because you'll come here and everyone is like confident in themselves, or like as projecting their own confidence, or only knows how to talk about themselves in terms of achievements to some degree. But then I talk to people and they'd be talking about things that only American students at the time had access to. So when I was in high school, this first robotics competitions, all those things they weren't like in Kenya. I think they've started coming to Kenya, but those things are not foreign concepts. So you come here and you meet like a group of people who are already like friends with each other because they met each other in first robotics competitions. Or you go over here and like, oh yeah, people did math Olympiads and things, and they remember themselves from there. Or like people from a certain like city, like especially people who came from California, or people who came from like certain big schools, the Precious Bloods, the Starehes, the Kenya Highs, all these things are coming and meeting themselves here, and they've already put themselves in these groups, and you're like, I have nothing to share. Especially with someone like me, who now I'm like understanding how like I'm like rather extrovertic. I like people, I like engaging with people, but it can be such a shock where you come into a group and you're like, I have nothing to say. I have nothing to share that is relevant to this conversation. And first years are pretty similar. At that point, you're talking about your accomplishments, you're talking about the things you did. And for us, it's like no one relates to KCSE, no one relates to boarding school necessarily. If you talk to people about the boarding schools, some people here, the boarding schools are private schools, expensive. Rich places, they don't share the same background. So I think finding international students, people who are confused alongside you, like you can relate to these stories. You meet people who are like, oh my gosh, someone talked about this, I've never heard about that in their life, and you're laughing and you're cracking up with someone from some random place in the world. You're like, yeah, I have no idea what they were talking about. Like that builds community. Like being able to relate to people is really important, and that's like a lesson that I wish I knew when I was younger and had first come around, because I lived in a dorm that was like pretty far from, culturally very distinctly different from the rest of the campus. And there was pros in that, but the cons is I'm so far removed from the experience. And then recognize signs of loneliness and signs of certain thought patterns that are coming to you. I think there's so much value now in like food. I called I was humble because before I was like, I don't like helping cook, I don't like doing these things. But as example, I learned recipes. I'm like, and now if you ask people around me, food is like the one thing that like Steph and food are different. Like I cannot be separated. Like I cook often. I like to bring people together around for meals and things like that. That's what builds community. So I think one big thing, community, you need people who relate to you and people who can support you and people who are going to be vulnerable. And sometimes you need to be the vulnerable one first. You have to be like, yeah, I failed my exam. It might be the first exam you've ever failed in life, but people need to hear that, oh, people can fail exams. Oh, so it's like something that happens. So they can also talk about how they struggled and you share. And I think another thing is, I guess that's a culture aspect. Find your people, go attend events, all these like African Students Association, all these, go to them. Even though you might have been taught that, extracurriculars are a little bit a waste of time, or like, no, go there. Learn from upperclassmen who have made it beyond that first year, and who can like take you under their wing and support you. Yeah, so there's that, and then mental health. Oh, mental health is a big thing. Before I came here, there's no time in life that I had a conversation about mental health. Like that was just something that didn't exist, and especially for me, like I found out much later during my time at MIT. I got a diagnosis for ADHD. ADHD is like, it's a neurodivergent, like it's just the way that you process things is different. The way that your brain rewards itself for certain things is different. That's what my whole life, ever since I was a kid, I was told that, no, you're not applying yourself. Like, all my teachers liked me as a person and I was very engaged in class. But sometimes there's certain places where I just wouldn't do homework. Like, I just wouldn't, they'd just be shocked. They're like, we know you know this. Why aren't you doing this? There's just certain patterns that people categorize back home as either like you're lazy, or you're not motivated, or you're not doing things. And then later on you come and find, it's just the way that you process things is different. And you can get certain support things, which at the time might feel like, you're getting like it might feel weak, but it's not weak. That's just who you are. Like, those are things that you also find out by talking to other people and seeing that you're not as unique as you thought. People have had the same experiences. They point you to resources. Like at MIT, there's like things like time and a half. You get extra time on tests. If you found that you're always someone who's struggling to finish things, not that you don't know, you just struggle with time, that's also something that's wrapped up in there. So I didn't know that for the first 2 years that I was here, and it was not good. Like, it was really, really hard, and it's already a very academically rigorous place. Like MIT, even compared to other top schools, like if you compare your syllabuses and the things that you do in class, like, it's tough. But people don't want to say that it's tough in the moment. People are just going to push through. And so that can really take a toll on your mental health. That the thing that you're talking about, where it's like, they made a mistake. It's classic. They call it imposter syndrome here. They're like, you think you're an imposter. You think you've deceived people. You think up until this point, like, you're not supposed to be here. Or, I'm not prepared for this, etc., etc. But no, it's not. It's not true. You just have not adapted to the space. And you also have to like realize that it's a lot. You're doing a lot. You're moving to a whole new like context. You have to learn how to be a person. You need to grow. You need a place where you like find yourself, and you're trying to navigate that alongside classes, alongside do I have friends, alongside the food doesn't taste like, and the food is not the same. That's a lot. Like, recognize that and then pat yourself on the back, because you're fighting so many battles that you don't see right now. You're just grades, or I didn't do something this weekend, or like there's so much on your plate. Respect that and know that you'll be fine. People have gone through this. People are going through this as we speak, and just find that community. I think that's really important. So those are the biggest lessons. I ended up like, and then also shame. Shame is a huge thing. Like, I think I ended up, because I didn't have the support for these things, or I kept in these kinds of spirals of thought, I took time off in the middle of my study, and then the pandemic happened, which was crazy, because it's like, it's one thing to be like, okay, I'm voluntarily taking a step back for like medical leave, but then on top of that, the pandemic happened, things were crazy, people couldn't travel, I was stuck at home. There's so much wrapped up in that, and I think for me it was helpful to see that all these structures that I looked up to, all these people who I thought had it together, were all collectively panicking because it can change just like that. Like, everyone is vulnerable. Everyone has their own battles they're fighting. So you're not the only one. Don't isolate yourself thinking that out of shame. Like, that shame is huge. Shame can keep you from places. Shame can keep you in certain like perspectives. Don't do that. COVID happened and I was like, it's time to be shameless. It's time to be shameless about your experience. Talk about things, because you'll make that period of your life make sense. And when I was able to come back, I was so much better. Like, I was like, did we freeze? So it might have frozen on my end a little bit, but all this to say.
Stephanie, my Wi-Fi was acting up a little bit. I missed you just for 1 minute.
Oh, yes. I think I had left off just saying that, like, when I came back, it was just so much better. Like, I was more confident in myself, because I saw that, like, all these things that I was hiding away, all these doubts that I had, like, okay, now I'm behind. Now, like, the people, my friends are ahead of me. You realize that, like, life is yours. Like, up until high school, we've all been moving. Next year, we're at the same place. The year after that, we're at the same place. When it comes to life after high school, like, everyone is in their own journey. And actually, life in general, people have different twists and turns. It's just not as visible. But when it comes to studying abroad, or like, you're on your own journey. you make those rules. Like you will be fine. And if you're worried about like certain things or worried about being behind, talk to people who've also been through those, had those emotions, removed them, and like carried on in life. Like it's going to be fine. So yeah, I came back, had a new lease on life. Everyone was stressed out and tired because of, you know, COVID and all these things, but I was coming back with a new energy. Me, I'm like, I have a second chance at undergrad and like how it's going to be. So I did all the things that I had pushed aside. I joined like there's like an Afro-Caribbean dance team at MIT. I said I'm going to do things I've never done. We put together a show. I choreographed dances. I was every day, or like at least almost every day, I was surrounded by like Africans and other Black people and people who like, we can sit and be like, what did you experience today that was crazy? We can just like share our experiences and be like, yeah, that was crazy, right? Because in the moment, there's so many things about being in America, like so many things that happen to you, and then you process. And then at some point, I'm like, am I crazy or did that happen to me? You need people who you can share those things with. And a big thing, like I always tell, like especially Africans, people coming from people of African descent, when you come over to the States, please make friends with African Americans, make friends with Black people, like people who have navigated all those things that you're navigating right now is their life day to day. Like I think there's a lot of like, you know, people have heard of diaspora wars and all these different things where people are, there's certain misconceptions or portrayals of people in the media that might have trickled down to you, or you might feel intimidated being in certain spaces. No, just make friends. They'll show you tips and tricks. They'll tell you, okay, they'll point out things. You know, sometimes you can be like, someone said something to me and I feel weird about it. And they'll be like, no, that was horrible. Feel your feelings, like be validated in the fact that was not a good thing. And this is how we navigate it when we experience these things. And just forge bonds and they'll carry. So yeah, after that, I was a lot better. Got this diagnosis, got support from school, and then felt like I was a student. Being away also helped me develop my sense of self a little bit more. I came back feeling like more confident in who I was. Like I knew that I if I'm in situations where I'm not having fun or like laughing around or like being like, I need a certain amount of lightheartedness around me. And if I'm not surrounded by that, I need to change my environment. Those are the things I came back knowing. But yeah, so after that, MIT was just a lot easier to navigate because all those small fires had been put out. But yeah, that culture and mental health, the two biggest things that govern your experience studying abroad, I think.
Wow. My goodness. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for being vulnerable and sharing, because I think people go through all these things and we don't talk about. So I'm sure that people will resonate with that. And so, and to congratulate you for riding the wave and surviving and looking for ways to thrive. So that is super commendable, Steph.
Thank you.
And sorry about all I've been wondering like because I feel like just surviving abroad, especially in these big universities coming from Kenya, sometimes can be challenging. So well done for finding a way to thrive throughout. Because now we need to end this podcast or this episode, and then I will look for you another time. You tell us how you are navigating like job abroad, like post graduation. I know you graduated recently, so we'll not talk about that. But just mention about how was it studying engineering? You studied mechanical engineering. How was it like study wise? Just paint a picture for us. I'm sure it's rigorous and intense.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I don't know, just 1 minute kind of how you found it. And then we will just wind up there.
Yeah. First, it was rigorous. It was difficult. It's very quick. There's a lot of really accomplished professors here in their line of work, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the best instructors. So that was a big shock for me because I thought my job is to just come and I'll have amazing instruction. That's not the case. For classes, you need to talk to people who've come before you or read class reviews to know this is how the class works and this is how people make it through. There are things called office hours. We've been trained to kind of do things on our own or like help it out through problems, but sometimes these problems are not meant to be done alone. Find out if there's office hours or study groups or things that you can be a part of to help your journey a little bit easier. Like people can give you guidance, and then from there you can tough it out. There'll be enough time for you to be tough and to be work on your own and all that. So yes, I think once I got into the flow of picking out resources, learning how to study, there's YouTubers online like who have mastered the art of studying or prepping for exams. See those techniques, because some of us, you're trained to like, oh, you read the textbook, you do some things like take a lot of time, but they're not smart ways to study. So figure out smart ways and figure out your personal like way to study. It's an art form. You need to cultivate it sooner than later. Your first year, that's where you can fail as much as you want. Like I think places like MIT, I think your GPA, like it's just pass fail for like the first semester, the first couple semesters. So please do pass and do fail. Like do understand what works for you and build those habits early. So I did that. There's a lot of really good resources here. Like, MIT is hard, but it's also exposure to so many amazing thing. I got to like work on really good projects or really good there's really good departments that lined up with what I want to do. Right now they expose me to like certain project-based work that's not just technical engineering stuff. It's like, okay, if you actually want to make something that works in like for example, like a community project, what are the other things you need to think of? Things like stakeholders, things like that certain engagement and softer skills that don't come from opening a textbook. That's another thing. So I was able to do that and concentrate in those things. I also study German because I'd done it in high school. So I carried on with my German studies here. And especially for those of you who will go to sciencey, like more STEM focused schools, you might want to leave humanities behind. But trust me, humanities classes are where I discovered how to speak and how to like express myself and like write, figure out how to like write something and communicate to people. So if you're like struggling with the barrier of expressing yourself, we're taught completely differently coming from Kenya. Take your humanities classes, learn how to write, learn how to speak, learn how to present. It's going to be very useful for you. So yeah, that was my experience. MIT Grade School for Meki, a lot of good exposure. Cool programs, cool things to do in the summer, cool research. I did a lot of research that was that is helpful like in the future for grad school and stuff like that. Recommenders, I have Professor Tukan, like again, when I start this process again of applying, will be in my corner. And yeah, no two experiences will be the same, but believe in yourself, you deserve it. Like that confidence, it always comes from remembering, hey, you've done so much to get here. Find people who relate to you, believe in yourself. Engage in mental health resources if that's what you need. Don't be ashamed. You got this. Like you'll make it. You'll make it.
Yeah. Oh my! I've actually, I don't know if I've mentioned, but I really admire, and I've told you should do a podcast because you are a very good communicator, and now I'm learning that you learned that from taking humanities or learning German in your humanities class. So I forgot to mention about German. So you speak German? How do you practice in an English speaking area?
In speaking, finding people who speak, like it's surprising. There's a good amount of people who just come across it in one way or the other. I think I need to do better on that. I think I'm trying to consume more media that has German, and I'm also setting like personal goals for myself because I want to take some more like proficiency tests. So that's also another way to like stay engaged. They have Goethe institutes here as well. So okay. Yeah, just imagine. And then besides that, most of my devices are in German. I'm like, I cannot escape this.
Wow.
To see. So yeah, that's also something that I'm dedicating time for.
How would you tell my audience to watch? If you tell my audience, please watch this episode and learn about how to go to US in German.
Okay, I would say, hallo Leute, ich bin hier mit Gladys. Sie sollen alle diese Sendung anschauen und lernen, wie sie zur USA kommen können. Und ja, es gibt hier so viele schöne Dinge, die sie lernen können. Und sie ist eine wunderschöne Person. Es gibt so viele Ressourcen hier. Und ja, viel Glück und sie schafft.
Man, I admire people who speak like different languages, but I'm so lazy to learn. I want to learn, but I'm so lazy. So I'm really envious that you can speak. But now you can speak how many languages, Sasa? Like Kiswahili, English,
So there's
German?
English, Kiswahili, German. I'm looking at my book. I currently like learning. I can do like some Japanese and some Korean. And me and my friend are trying to learn Chinese together. Like I've just always loved languages also. Ever since I did that study abroad, I was like, people are living differently, doing so many cool things. There's so much cool food. There's so many things that I want to experience on my own and for my own perspectives.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love languages. Like it makes traveling so much better when you can speak the language.
I agree, and well done. Oh my God, Stephanie, I'm so happy. I'm happy for you on that.
Thank you.
I really admire people who speak like more than English, more than two. Where now you speak way more, so that is really nice.
Thank you.
Stephanie, because of time, we will just force end here.
Yeah.
But please reflect back to when you were in Precious Blood. And I don't know, it's not too far ago. Like you're still way young.
Yeah.
But what is one lesson you've learned? Because I feel like you're already like shattering glass ceilings on your way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just one lesson. I don't know. One thing you would tell a young Stephanie who was just in like Form 1 or Form 4.
Yeah, I think just believe in yourself and continue dreaming. Like that's the thing. I think something that you need to hold on to when you're younger is your capacity to just dream. Your life is not complicated with all these other things. You just have a thought and you can water that thought without thinking about other things. I think that's one thing I can like tell myself to hold on to, and also that I appreciate about younger me. I just had a thought and I was like, you know what? Let's go. What's going on there? What do I need to do? Because that's another thing. Like imposter syndrome, doubt. It brings doubt to you that you didn't need to have, a burden that you didn't need to have. Just have a thought and be like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Okay, what do I need to do? Okay, let's figure it out. So yeah, just hold on to that energy of, I can do it. I think I can just do it.
Yeah. Okay. Believe in yourself and keep dreaming. Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie. Let's end there. But thank you for creating time, and your stories are amazing, and I can't wait to share this episode with my audience, especially students who've been contacting me about how to get admission abroad as undergrad, and I didn't have any experience on that. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's something I'm always happy to share about.
Great.
So, thank you.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie.